Welcome to the second hour of the Eusebius McKaiser show. And as promised, we have the Secretary General of the ANC joining us for the next hour. You people have such little faith in him, eh? Gwede is a man of his worth. Everyone's like, we'll believe it only once we hear his voice on your show. He's Gwede Mantashe. He's right here. He's in high spirits, as he always is. And you can ask him questions. We won't get to all of your questions. Him and I have a lot to get through. But tweet us, and I want to pick up your commentary as you listen to him speak. Your questions, we'll pick out the patterns, the one that dominate. I'll be able to hone in on those. Use the hashtag Gwede on Eusebius. It doesn't mean that Gwede is physically on Eusebius. We're just using that hashtag on Twitter. Gwede on Eusebius. And you can also call in 011 883 0702 in Jersey. Cape Townians on 021 446 0567. SG, thank you so much for coming in. I really do appreciate it. How are you?
Thank you, Savias. I'm very happy. I'm full of energy. I don't know what to do with it.
You can channel it into this dialogue. I want to start firstly with the ANC's elective conference. Obviously, all of us in the country, but especially those of us who are political reporters and political animals, we are following this beast very, very, very closely. Your constitution is extremely complicated. I think many of us, even as political journalists, if you had to put us through a general knowledge course, we might even fail. It's very complicated. But the ANC branch is, in theory anyway, supposed to be the most important democratic unit inside the organization. Can you give us a description from an auditing point of view of how many branches there are that have been audited, that are in good standing, because one of your jobs is to deliver a conference that has integrity? Before we even talk about provinces, the branches are the ones that, in theory, are meant to be mattering the most.
You see, Savias, our constitution is very simple. It's written in plain language. It confuses judges. Even when they try to read it, when you say at least, judges say it doesn't mean at least. It means something else. We have audited branches. The complication with auditing is that it tells you which branches are in good standing and which branches are due. We use the term due because some of the branches have the required number of members, but they are not in good standing because they need to go to the biennial general meeting where they elect leadership. The leadership was elected beginning of 2015, is no longer in their term, and therefore that branch in numbers is in good standing, but it's not in good standing. I think we must delay this until we do what you call verification, which is now monitoring branches that are called collating branch general meetings. Only at that time will we be sure that we've got 70% of the branches in good standing, then we're ready for the conference. At this point in time, BGMs are underway, they're going very well.
But if I look at let's see here, what does my phone say? It's the 24th of October. Do you have enough time, do you feel? Because that's a lot of work. It requires a lot of resources, a lot of manpower. Just from an admin point of view, do you think there's enough time between now and before Christmas to be able to ensure that you don't get things on the eve of the ANC conference being tied up again in court processes?
We don't. We'll, by 15 November, we'll have cleaned up everything. The beauty of the ANC, that's why you say the branch is the most democratic space and the most reliable basic organ of the ANC, is that branch general meeting are held at branch level. It is chaired by a branch chairperson. A region sends a deployee to oversee the process. A province can send a person to observe, but branches can hold BGM same time, even if there are 40 in a province. They can do that. So it's going to happen. And they're trickling in. The reason that we're actually monitoring that process is that once they nominate, they send an electronic version of the nomination immediately to a sender of the Electoral Commission. So they cannot change it as they like. But we've got also a pile of appeals that are coming through that were not happy here. There was no quorum here. I was kept out of the meeting. We'll be dealing with those issues now. That's why we are not waiting till the end of the process. We want to deal with them as BGMs are happening. Many of those appeals, I will go through them. You can see that it's a question of a question. One write me an appeal and he says, I'm writing this on behalf of disgruntled members. Now, once you describe yourself as a disgruntled member, that means you are bringing negative energy to the processes of the ANC, and we must manage that.
That's a lot to manage, because obviously what we have seen in the last year, SG, is cases ending up in court, which is not ideal, because even though we live in a country where constitutional supremacy is one of the founding principles from the 1994 moment and the 1996 adoption of the final version of the Constitution, ideally we'd like the political arena to be an autonomous arena where political issues are completely dealt with. So can we talk now then about provinces? Let's say you had a magic wand and you can get all of the branches to work properly as they should. There are no shenanigans. You don't have disgruntled members. They are properly constituted. Ethically, things run smoothly. The debates happen in the nominations process. The next hurdle in terms of the structure of the ANC is obviously at the level of provinces, because on the way to conference, that bottom-up process in terms of how the nominations happen, it needs to feed through the various structures. This is old hat to you. I'm just speaking for the public. And yet there are some of your provinces that are tied up in litigious processes, which is the next hurdle. We take, for example, the Eastern Cape. We add in the Free State, and perhaps the one that is most vivid in the minds of my listeners that got the most attention in the media in the last few weeks is what's happening in KZN. Talk to me a little bit about the provincial level structures and their readiness or not to now wait for these properly constituted branches at the bottom in order to feed up this process.
Yes, I don't know what was so interesting about the KZN court case. We had the Free State court case in 2012. The Ramakatsa case is quoted widely in the KZN case. But the KZN seems to be attracting a lot of attention. Many of the people who talk about that case have not read the judgment. One of the things that was encouraging in that judgment is that the court says all the alleged irregularities are not material. And that's why the judgment is based on a rule called 17.2.1, which requires a third of the branches to request for an early conference. And that is the basis. That's why we're challenging it, because it basically says the NEC has no authority to call an early conference. And if one third of the branches request, the constitution of the NEC talk of requesting, the court almost says if they request, they must be given. And the question that we're asking is, they request from who? If they're requesting from the NEC must have a right to say yes or no. And that is the essence of the contestation. The question, the advent of court cases in the process of the ANC goes with the question of appealing every conference that has been held. You can go to regions, you can go to provinces. It's a new trend of every time there is a conference, people participate. Once the results are announced, then they contest. To me, it tells me that the reality of the matter is not the process, is the desire to be in power. If my faction doesn't succeed in winning a conference, I must appeal it and take it to court. And that trend is going to grow the more getting elected into structures of the ANC translate into holding power in government and therefore take charge of the resources. And therefore it is a manifestation of commitment being replaced by greed. And that's one thing that we must deal with. It's a political matter, and that's why when you describe a leader of a revolutionary movement, is that they must meet high standards. And that high standard is that you can't measure yourself using what we call the lowest common denominator. Yes, we're corrupt here, but the nuts were corrupt under apartheid. That's not a comparison. There is a reasonable expectation for us to meet high standards. But what is happening now is that many of the court cases and the appeals are not based on the processes. They are based on the results.
But I want to slow it down here, Gwede. Obviously, it's my job, besides the fact that I enjoy it, to watch you when you give conferences. I've heard you dressing down journalists who haven't read their judgment.
Yes.
Unfortunately for you, I have read the judgment.
Yes.
And I've read it twice.
Okay.
It is not correct, as a matter of law, Mr. Mantashe, to say that judgment in KZN said that there were no material issues to worry about.
So.
That question, it does not. I've got it right here. We can play it. I can show it to you.
It says so.
But I think you will agree with me once I articulate the point. Just give me a bit of space. The point that they make is that request of 1/3 of branches that need to. The requirement that 1/3 of branches will want a special conference.
Yes.
That is a material issue, because what it means, it is the very basis on which the court decided that the provincial structure was, in pretentious legalese, void ab initio. That's exactly why that PE structure is invalid. So I've heard you make this point several times now, that there were no material issues. That's the material issues, because what it means is that as we stand, unless and until an appeal succeeds, KZN is a structure that is void.
Let me explain. Irregularities that are claimed, that are immaterial, is that there was no quorum there, we didn't do audit here. Those are irregularities alleged. They are immaterial. What is material is the 1/3 of the branches being a requirement to call an early conference. That is not an irregularity. We're actually judged there on contravening the constitutional requirement.
Let's put this simply for those people who are not as nerdish about the ANC constitution as you and I. ANC constitution, on the interpretation of the court, we can contest whether we like the interpretation, but as it stands in law, their interpretation of your constitution is 1/3 of ordinary branches need to request it. That was not met. That is an example of an irregularity.
No. The 1/3 a requirement is that 1/3 of the branches should request the convening of that's why it says the conference should be held every 4 years or more regularly if it is requested by 1/3 of the branches. Where we're contesting it, and I'm saying it is a contravening of the constitution if the court is right in its interpretation. And that's why we're saying it is a constitutional matter rather than an irregularity. Irregularities talk to processes. That's why the judgment talks to those irregularities and lists them and give the appellant, the respondent, which is the ANC, benefit of doubt on them. But it comes to the question of the constitutional requirement of 1/3 of the branches requesting. And what we are questioning is requesting from who? Argument is that branches can request from the NEC. If the court takes away the right of the NEC to take decisions on these matters, then it will be a free for all. Actually, Ngalwana SC, take it further and to illustrate the misdirection of the court on this matter. He says, it means if we go to a conference, we lose a conference, we can organize ourselves as a faction that has lost conference into 1/3 of the branches request for a conference. If it must be given, it means we may have a conference every year, because every group that loses a conference may request a conference if it must be given. That means we'll have a provincial conference every year, and we'll contravene the requirement of a conference, which is a term of 4 years.
I accept that, and I think that's a very good argument to put before the court. And that will only happen if the ANC, as a respondent, effectively the NEC, decides in fact to appeal.
We have.
Will you?
Yes.
Will you?
And our appeal is not an appeal to protect the PC. It's an appeal for the court to give a correct interpretation of the constitution of the ANC.
When was that decision taken to appeal? Because we love breaking news as talk show hosts, because the lawyer's letter that I'm sitting with here, and it's my job to find these things out, says we refer to the above matter, that is the urgent application. There are two issues obviously going on, because there's also a case going on to have the court order granted in terms of operationalizing it until the main appeal happens.
The application for execution.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Are you going to oppose that?
Yes.
Okay, then you should inform Yashisha Chetty attorneys, because this letter here says something different to what you are saying, Gwede. Yes. When did the NEC decide that? Is that the official position as you and I speak now? Because I'm in possession here of correspondence from one of your lawyers actually indicating that there will not be an opposition to the application for the ANC as a client. So that's not the position.
We're joining the lawyers of the province.
Okay.
Yeah, so that there's no stampede over the case. We're just joining the lawyers of the province. That's why one of the requirements is to give them...
both on the main issue and the execution order.
Yes, and we give them the power of execution.
Okay, great stuff.
Power of attorney.
I'm totally with you. And I hope you are as well as you are listening to this. I know there's quite a bit of detail here, but it matters. The ANC is an organization that has to run in terms of its constitution. I've scanned Twitter. I've scanned the hashtag Gwede on Eusebius. I know you want us to talk about everything from JZ to the economy. We'll get to the big issues, but the ANC is the most important in terms of its effect, social movement in this country. It has an elective conference coming out, and we need to understand how Gwede in particular, with his duties as SG, is going to deal with the issues at branch level, provincial level, and the cases. And you've heard it there, he's confirmed they in fact will be opposing both the main case and also the execution order. 22 minutes after 10, we'll take a bit of a breather, and then we'll change themes, and I will take your questions in the second half of this conversation. So start giving us a call on 011 883 0702 in Johannesburg, and in Cape Town on 021 446 0567. Hashtag Gwede on Eusebius. If you can't get enough of his gorgeous face, you can also watch him live on our 702 Facebook page. We are streaming this interview there right now.
Karima Brown on 702, weekdays 8 to 10 p.m.
What is your view as General Secretary of the Communist Party on these rumours? And more importantly, do you believe the Deputy President is going to be axed?
I don't know. Were the President to ask the Deputy President, I think that would be stupid. It looks like President Zuma these days is so desperate that nothing is impossible in terms of what he can do.
Karima Brown on 702, your number one news and talk station.
Discovery Life clients live longer as a result of healthy living and get up to half of their life insurance premiums back for doing so. We call it shared value because everyone wins. Now there's another way to win. Join Discovery Life today and get 20% more life cover for the first 3 years at no additional premium. Speak to your financial advisor or go to discovery.co.za to find out more. Discovery Life. Life insurance that rewards healthy living. Discovery Life is an authorized FSP. Product rules, T's and C's apply.
I'm always hungry.
Always hungry. Always tired. Always tired. Sweet cravings. So emotional.
Nothing fits me anymore.
Avoid sugar highs and lows. Regain a healthy sugar balance. A healthy sugar balance will help you lose weight more effectively. Antagalin optimizes blood sugar metabolism and combats insulin resistance. Get Antagalin.
Hi, Jane. I overheard my hubby talking to yours about an unsuccessful job. Oh, are you sure you're using the right Roto-Rooter? There are people pretending to be Roto-Rooter, so make sure you have the right name and number. If it's not 011 444 4040, it's not the real Roto-Rooter.
Thanks, Sally. I'll remind him that there is only one Roto-Rooter. So when our drain or plumbing is being naughty, there's only one 011 444 4040. Roto-Rooter.
7 702.
702.
Eusebius is on Twitter @Eusebius.
25 minutes after 10, we're in conversation with the Secretary General of the African National Congress, Mr. Gwede Mantashe. If you've got a question for him, 011 8830702 in Jersey and in Cape Town on 021 446 0567, and use the hashtag Gwede on Eusebius, and I'm going to pick up on some of your questions. As you can appreciate, Gwede, we've got hundreds of questions on Facebook and Twitter, so I'm trying to see which ones are dominating. One big issue that I have to get in, otherwise people will not listen to the rest of our conversation. People want to know from you, and they ask the question in different wording, but this is the essence of it. Why is it that the ANC doesn't seem to have the ability to deal decisively with President Jacob Zuma? What does he have on you?
No, actually, nobody have anything on me. Unless there's an intelligence report that can be published in the future, and then there will be something on me. But there's nothing on me.
I mean you as the whole NEC for that matter.
Let me start about me first. There's nothing on me. You know, I receive SMSs and WhatsApp messages almost every 10 minutes. Many people suggesting that as Secretary General, you're not doing your job, you're not firing the president. And I always tell them that you must also have the power to hire to have the power to fire. That's the first thing. One, we explained this issue that even the NEC in our constitution doesn't have the power to fire. That's why I'm not fired up to now. You know, I have not been reshuffled because the NEC has no power to do so. It is the conference that can do so. And there's a provision in our constitution, if you want to deal with that, you can call a special conference. But the requirement for a special conference is two things. Again, constitution of the ANC. It must either be the majority of NEC members who ask for it, or it should be the majority of provinces, which means if 5 provinces request a special conference, we'll convene it and it will deal with the specific issue it must deal with. If it wants to deal with the president, it must deal with the president as an item on the special conference agenda. Now, both of these have not happened, and therefore we cannot just wake up and fire a president. That's the issue. It's not a question of have anything on us as the NSC. It is a question of an organization must stick to its constitution and do what it is, and not wake up because there is a public outcry, do things the wrong way, because you are going to run into problems.
But you see, Gwede, you're doing this thing, you and English, you're doing this funny thing that English speakers love doing, and we're not even mother tongue speakers, but you've got the tricks of the trade. You are saying it, and these things must happen, and there are processes, as if the ANC exists out there and the individual human beings who are the members of the NEC exists here. The NEC has political agency. It can call that special conference. It could listen to the elders, and it can actually do that. Can you take us into your confidence why it is so difficult to win the numbers game? Because the objective case for recalling JZ is easy to make. I certainly am not a South African who misses President Thabo Mbeki. I haven't forgiven him for many things, including the AIDS denialism. However, I think the case for recalling JZ is at least as strong as Thibaut. So the question then becomes, why, from a mathematical point of view, are the numbers not sufficiently strong inside the NEC to do what is obvious?
Yes, it's because NEC are individuals. That issue of the president stepping down has been discussed 2 times in the NEC actually. Both occasions, 4 days. Okay, 4 days. And it didn't win the day.
Why not?
On both occasions. Because NEC members, as individual members, argue and show their views. One of the issues, let me give you one of the arguments, is that out of recalling President Thabo Mbeki, we learned a very harsh lesson. COPE was formed, and 37 seats were taken away from us. It's a hard lesson. And the difference between JZ and TM is that TM, by the time he was recalled, was not the president of the ANC. People tend to miss that aspect. JZ is the president of the ANC. And the 52nd National Conference of the ANC resolved that the president of the ANC will be our presidential candidate all the time. Now, it complicates that space of recalling the president of the ANC. That's the reality of the complication. But if the NEC debated the possibility of calling a special conference and adopted that resolution by majority, we would have called that special conference. Ours is to execute. It has not taken that decision. That is the complication. So I'm not playing tricks of the language. I'm telling you practical questions that we're facing. Because sometimes...
No, what I mean, but I'm being a little bit naughty, but the serious point that I'm making is that often when I hear senior leaders, and when I had former President Kgalema Motlanthe on the show, he had a remarkable moment of honesty, and I'll share that with you after the news headlines. But very often when I engage the senior leaders in the party, they use the passive voice as if there aren't individual members of the NEC who, if they were to choose to do the right thing, they are empowered by this ANC constitution right here to do the right thing. So I'm trying to understand what is going on in their logic as they play different scenarios. And I want us to just finish that conversation. Okay, we'll do that. It's 10:30. Here's the latest in EWN headlines.
Thanks, UCBS. Good morning. We continue with the crime stats being revealed in Parliament this morning. Murders remain a serious problem in the country. There was an increase of 1.8%, which translates to just over 19,000 over the 2016-2017 financial year. The National Police Commissioner Lesetja Motiba says murders had been on the decline, but over the past several years have started rising again. ANC Secretary General Gwede Mantashe says while the party's branches have been audited, those that are not in good standing must still undergo verification processes before the elective conference in December. As the party prepares for its conference, there have been several court cases questioning the legitimacy of some provincial and, in some cases, regional conferences. And the Law Society of South Africa has called on Tanzanian authorities to release 2 South Africans who are among a group arrested for allegedly promoting homosexuality in that country. 13 activists and lawyers were arrested earlier this month while working on a case to force the government to provide better health services for Tanzanians. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at 11 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
In Edenvale, there's been an accident on the N3 North before the Linksfield off-ramp, causing heavy delays from the Gululis interchange, while in Midrand, there's also been an accident on the N1 South before the Batu interchange, slowing down traffic from New Road. In Parkmore, traffic lights are still out of order at William Nicol and Santon Drive, while in Cape Town, trains on the Central Line are still running about 20 to 30 minutes late due to cable theft between Nyanga and Philippi, and trains on the Southern Line are also running about 20 to 30 minutes late due to faulty points at Simonstown. Karabachali, EWN Traffic.
The Midday Report.
Amendments to the South African Schools Act will see all power go to the Basic Education Department. This could have some serious repercussions for language and appointments. Your thoughts on this?
Indeed. I mean, this is taking us back to the apartheid days of state schools. In short, this boils down to school capture by the state.
Deputy CEO at the Federation of School Governing Bodies in South Africa, Jaco Deacon.
The Midday Report on 702, your number one news and talk station.
The Ear Institute made a big difference in our families' lives. I recently had my hearing tested and was pleasantly surprised how easy it was. The staff made me feel so welcome and relaxed. It was a great experience.
If you're struggling to hear, especially in a noisy environment, call us today. We guarantee your hearing will improve or we'll gladly refund your money. Phone 0861 10 20 30. earinstitute.co.za. T's and C's apply.
From buy-ins to buyouts and goodbyes, in a cutthroat world of business, it's dog eat dog. Go with the flow. Swim with the sharks. What's your game plan? Will it grow the margins? Make a clean sweep. It's in the bag. Done and dusted.
If your business approach screams jargon, take your leadership skills to the next level with an NQF Level 9 accredited Master of Business Leadership from UNISA's Graduate School of Business Leadership. Applications close 13 November. Visit the UNISA SBL website to apply.
Selling your car? Why sell it when you can wheelie it? What's the difference? When you wheelie your car on wheelie.co.za, you sell it for more, getting you exactly what you deserve. Simply upload your car on wheelie.co.za and watch hundreds of verified dealers make you cash offers, getting you more. It's quick, safe, and hassle-free. Don't just sell your car, get more cash on wheelie.co.za. That's WEELEE.co.za. Wheelie.co.za. Sell your car for more.
You're undecided about your investment portfolio. Exchange-traded funds are trending, but you're not sure. What you do know is that you want an easy, transparent, and cost-effective way to access the stock market. Investing with Bruce Whitfield is a roundtable discussion with Satrix CEO Helena Conradi and investment experts Simon Brown and Candice Payne to unpack exactly what ETFs are and how you can use them as an investment tool. Join Bruce on the 2nd of November. Get to 702.co.za to put your name in the draw. Investing with Bruce Whitfield. Brought to you by Satrix. Own the market. Satrix Managers is an authorized FSP and is registered and approved in terms of the Collective Investment Schemes Control Act.
Eusebius Makaiser on 702 and Cape Talk.
Okay, Gwede, you're going to go first, and I'm going to tell you what Kgalema told me when he tried to explain the NEC to me several weeks ago. You explain it to the public because the public is sincerely confused.
Let me tell you, when you go to a body like the NEC, it's big. It's quite big. It's a huge body. You find two extremes. Okay. One extreme will come up strong and say the president must go. Another extreme will say the president goes nowhere. This most influential body is the body that is, I call it the middle stream of the ANC, which will explain to us that, listen, we can't behave like a congregation where we think that the best preacher is the one who is coming and the one who has just left. There's nothing in here. And it is that body that actually almost hammers sense in us and say, you can fire this president immediately and everybody will say you have done well and celebrate that. But you will actually break the organization and break it into pieces, because this is a president of the ANC who still have a lot of support in the organization. So you must manage that carefully and resist. That's why if you had me expressing it and I said, if we do this carelessly, we'll tear the movement apart. We'll tear the movement apart. And that was a serious consideration which came from that body, more elderly component of the NEC that thinks and deal with things carefully. And I think that is where you don't get the outright decision that fire the president immediately.
But can you, and I don't know if you're in that camp, I hope you are not, because I cannot for the one that articulates why firing him would be bad, either for the organization or for the country. When they make that case in the NEC, what words come out of their mouths?
And now you want words now.
I want to understand the content of the argument that grouping make, because I can give a 30-second summary why the man should go Izolo.
Yes.
The other side who thinks he mustn't go, what case do they make?
You can make the case. He says, I say that this is too extreme. They all make their case. The body that says sober up is the body that says you can do both. And just say the president is going nowhere. And then after they want to say, if you should say that rudely, you are actually showing society the middle finger. But if you say he must go now, you will tear this thing apart and it will require a lot of effort to pull it together. And I think it will come to the point that Comrade Kgalema made a few weeks ago, that maybe you need to lose power. And they say that formula is a formula to lose power. What we should do, we should manage our affairs properly. If ultimately the president is asked to step aside, it must happen in a systematic way, organized way. But the ANC must be in a state of stability even when that happened.
But Mr. Mantashe, in the status quo, the ANC is not in a state of stability. Let's forget about the interests of the country. Let's imagine I was an ANC politician with you, and all we care about, which is a bad thing, but for argument's sake, let's say all we care about is preserving the ANC. So the ANC's longevity, just give me 1 second.
I want to correct that.
But just listen to me. Okay? So let's imagine, for the sake of argument, for the sake of scenario playing, that the only thing we care about now, if we sit at Luthuli House, is how do we preserve the ANC for another 100 plus years. The status quo is not the way to do it, because this man, President Jacob Zuma, has outsourced the executive to the Saxon World Shebeen, possibly to Russia as well. The economy is not capable of delivering enough jobs to reduce inequality, wipe out the unemployment figures, and also to deal with our levels of poverty. The state of the state is deeply, deeply broken, and it is impaired. The country doesn't have faith in him. A lot of citizens, if we had direct presidential elections, the ANC's brand is high, but brand Jacob Zuma is very, very low. I cannot imagine what an NEC member supporting JZ can possibly say that is not so laughable that everyone starts laughing when they make a case in favor of JZ.
Many of them are not really supporting the person. Okay, let's start from there. Many of them are not just supporting the person. Let me tell you, I'll make this case because it has been said to me over and over that you can't care about the ANC and not care about the country. And my argument is, listen, including many people in the ANC who have said that, I said to them, listen, we are running an organization. Okay. If you say my responsibility as Secretary General of the ANC is to smash the organization because it will be better for the country for a smashed ANC, I think you're selling me a dead wood and say it is fresh trees, because I contest the election through a vehicle called the ANC and commit myself to run the country in the best of our ability as a vehicle. Now, if you say we must break that vehicle, basically you are arguing for us to give away the power and hope that the country will do well without the ANC. And I'm arguing that the ANC is important for the country. That's why we invest in everything to ensure that, for example, the milestone that is coming next is the conference in December. If we miss our steps in that conference in December, we can't pull ourselves together in that conference, then the decline will be accelerated.
Okay. No, fair enough. I want to take Botumela. I just want to ask you, as I promised, otherwise I'm not being consistent. I said to you I wanted your take on what Kgalema had said. Yeah. Kgalema said to me, Eusebius, I think the reason why the NEC, and I'm paraphrasing, but almost in so many words, I think the reason why the NEC hasn't been able to deal decisively with JZ is because government has become so big in terms of the expansion of cabinet over the years that there are many NEC members, senior members of the ANC who are in government. And when JZ goes to the NEC, he goes there not just as president of the ANC, he also goes there as the employer of many NEC members, and that gives him extra leverage.
No, I think that is a mischievous argument, particularly from Comrade Kgalema. If it was from anybody else, I would accept it. Comrade Kgalema has been in the NEC for years. He has been Secretary General, he has been Deputy President, he has been President of the country. And there's nothing new that has been brought by Jacob Zuma into the cabinet. If I'm unhappy with Jacob Zuma's behavior and his performance, I must make the case for that. Okay. But let me not make an argument that is invented as if when Mandela was a president, he was not an employer of many. When Thabo Mbeki was the president, he was not an employer of many. When Kgalema Mthlandi was president, he was not an employer of many. That argument to me is a dead argument, it's a mischievous argument. It should not come from the predecessors of Jacob Zuma.
Okay. Botumelo, good morning. What is your question for the SG?
SG, my question is, does the ANC or NEC believe that Zuma has destroyed the country, has destroyed the economy? And what do they talk about on a Monday meeting? Do they say to Zuma, continue what you're doing, we appreciate it, is good, or do they call him to order?
Thank you, Botumela. Two crisp, brilliant questions. SG, you're taking notes there. The question is clear, Baba.
And maybe add the third one, not only the country and the economy, at the ANC. Okay, at the ANC. Because sometimes people feel that we are ignorant of what is happening. We see what is happening. We see the performance of the ANC, both in government and as a party. And we measure that every time, and we're open about it, but we don't call press conferences for it. So it's not a question of saying, go on, right on, brother, right on, brother. We don't say that when we meet on Monday. We say, we are in trouble, the country is in trouble, the economy is in trouble. I don't know if people remember, Eusebius, that the discussion on state capture started in the ANC. People ignore that and forget that, because at that point in time, we realized that something is not right. Actually, we started with a smaller concept called corporate capture, where we said individual businesses sponsor individual politicians and even dirty tricks of individual politicians. And we say that graduates into state capture when the bureaucracy in the state get robbed into the destruction of the economy in the country and favor individuals. And that remains an issue for us. That's why in Parliament, it is the ANC parliamentarians who are starting the investigation on state capture. They have led that in Parliament because it worries us. We see the dangers.
But I think where the ANC doesn't get enough credit, you are better than even the opposition parties at critiquing yourself.
Yes.
One of my favorite things every 5 years is to read your discussion documents leading up to the policy conference. You do a brilliant job when it comes to self-diagnosis, but it's double-edged because as much as it's cool to say, actually, Eusebius, we started this thing of identifying the beast with corporate capture that morphed into state capture. It makes it even harder for the public to have faith in you, because if you knew this thing before the media latched onto the words, it means that you've known the beast longer than we in the public have known the beast. So why have you not killed the beast?
It's because to kill the beast requires other external instruments. The biggest instrument is the state, because if you commit a criminal activity, the ANC has no police force. It depends on the police force which is in the state to actually deal with a criminal. That is what I would describe.
But it's an ANC-led state, Gwede.
No, it's not an ANC-led state. Bureaucracy is not ANC-led.
Whether the heads of the ultimate political principals who are in charge of key organizations in this country, whether we talk about Minister Vikile Mbalula as the political head in charge of the SEPs, when we talk about specific economic crime fighting units, when we talk about Sean the Sheep, who serves at the behest of President Jacob Zuma as the head of the NPA, all our major institutions that we designed during Codesa to fight the beast, those are institutions that are headed by ANC comrades that have been seconded into the state, which means that there's either a lack of technical ability or a lack of political will to do the right thing.
Now, let me tell you, if we can take what you are putting to its logical conclusion, we'll be sitting here with a different argument, that the ANC is actually running this institution almost from the Tuli House. And you'll be raising many issues there. And I'm sure I can tell you the term you'll use. You'll call it Stalinism. You know, in the Chinese processes, there's something called you fight the tiger and the flies. Because the Communist Party is in charge there, it can direct action. In South Africa, there is sensitivity on the party interfering with the state operations. And if you say to me, we take a guess and say, we're given that authority, again, you will see the difference, because you will see very harsh actions taken from the Tuli House and directing bureaucrats to do X, Y, and Z. What we have tried very carefully is to avoid going to Sean. I don't go to Sean.
You don't have to, because it comes to you.
No, it doesn't come to me.
To the Tuli House, dropping in for tea.
No, I have not met him once, by the way. I want you to know that I have not met the Commissioner of Police once. Okay, I meet the ministers. I have not met those bureaucrats, not even once.
But here's the bottom line, is what I'm trying to get at, and I'm not trying to be contrarian, but I want us to keep it real, Gwede. The truth of the matter is that no bureaucracy in the world is apolitical, and it's not even obvious that that's desirable if we were to theorize bureaucracy. And the truth of the matter is that organizations and crime-busting units like the Scorpions, when we got rid of them, that was because of a political decision. When we had to have civil society organizations like the Helen Suzman Foundation in the Glenister judgment going to court to try and compel the state to design the Hawks to be immune from as much nefarious political influence as possible, it was as a result of politicians. So I love the separation between party and state, but you like trotting it out when it's convenient. The truth of the matter is that it is bad politics that have resulted in the erosion of very important democratic oversight institutions in our country.
Yes. Granted, let me accept that upfront. I think tampering with institutions, whether it is state-owned companies or anything, is bad. And that's why it is even more urgent for us as the party to appreciate the fact that to appoint a board, you don't need to appoint lackeys of the party. Get professionals, because they will make that instruments in the head of an ANC government more effective.
Okay. Let's take a break there.
Night Talk, Monday to Friday at 10 p.m.
The SACP saying they are weighing up their options. I don't think there are very many options. Their bark is a lot bigger than what bite they think they have. Should the SACP continue to serve in the cabinet? So I'm not convinced that they have all that many options. I think they know that as well, when it's quite clear that the president is calling your bluff.
Night Talk with Gooks Mkhungu on 702, your number one news and talk station.
Your hard-earned cash, everyone wants a piece of it. And when times are tough, every bit counts. The tax-free savings account from Old Mutual Invest can help you get more from your money. You can invest up to 33,000 Rand a year and you won't be taxed on any growth your investment makes. What's more, you can earn 8.5% interest tax-free in their maximized interest fund up until the 1st of December. For more info, or to open an account online in minutes, visit taxfreesignup.co.za. Today is the day. Get great financial advice. Do great things. Old Mutual is a licensed financial services provider. Visit taxfreesignup.co.za for terms and conditions.
And the winner of the extreme ironing competition is Gregory Milford. Your button-down shirt, steamed on the rocky cliffs of Mount Gilmore, is spectacular. Well done, young man.
What will you do with all the free time you have now that you don't have to wait for kettles to boil and ice cubes to freeze? Introducing Bibbo, the one-of-a-kind eco-friendly machine that gives you instant access to purified, ice-cold and boiling hot water at the touch of a button. Visit bibo.co.za. The future of water.
You vote where you live, and we at the Electoral Commission need to know where that is. Simply go to elections.org.za to check, confirm or update your address, even if it's an informal one. You can help family or friends confirm their details too. Call 0800 11 8000 for more info or visit elections.org.za now. It's that easy to let us know where you live. Click, check and confirm. Let's all contribute to ensuring free and fair elections.
Don't get caught in the digital divide. Become part of the digital disruption. If the digital talk out there is anything to go by, you need to know where your business is heading or get left behind. We're talking about Accenture this week on 702. Join us as we learn about the ultimate digital transformation partner and how they can help to accelerate your business into a brave new digital world. Accenture, leading in the new. More on Accenture.com. Only on 702.
CBS Mackayser on 702, your number one news and talk station. Call your CBS
on 011 883 0702.
Tano, just play that clip of Blade last night. Do you still have it? Blade was on the Karima Brown show, and Blade was making a comment about JZ. I think Blade was trying to behave like a sangoma. He said the following. Just listen to this, Gwede.
President Zuma is going. He's going to be a non-factor after December. Well, if he continues being head of state and the ANC doesn't recall him, as we have been calling for that, of course, is actually going to be a factor. President Zuma rightly says, when he was elected president of the ANC and president of the Republic, he doesn't owe anybody anything. He's right, but also as a movement, we don't owe him anything. That's what he doesn't continue to say.
Okay, that's fascinating. Let's assume that the candidate that you support, Cyril Ramaphosa, wins at the end of the year.
I don't know if I support Cyril Ramaphosa.
Do you? You can come out.
I want the election to go well. I've argued for management of succession publicly and openly.
There's no constitutional reason why you can't express a view.
I have expressed my view, but...
So your view is in favor of Cyril?
I don't want to punt for candidates.
But you prefer Cyril over Nkosazana?
I don't know that. Don't put me in that spot.
No, I'm asking.
Don't put me in that spot.
I'm asking, Mos.
Don't ask me that question.
Look, I've given you the chance to deny the preference.
No,
but here's I'm
not denying or confirming the preference. I've argued publicly for the management of the succession. If it is not, it is allowed to be free for all. We always end up in a crisis.
Okay. Do you agree with Blade that after December, and I think Blade is assuming the scenario in December is Cyril wins. If Cyril wins in December, will JZ be recalled before as a Valentine's gift to the country?
Now, let me tell you, it's a wrong argument when you go to a conference. Because it's like going to a conference and say, if we win the conference, we'll arrest the whole bunch of you. You are raising tensions and contradictions in a conference, and you are actually actively derailing the conference.
Okay, let's take two quick questions from our listeners. Hello in Midrand, keep it snappy. What is your question for Gwede?
Hi, FG. I just want to know, we keep hearing the ANC will self-correct. Is there a timeline, or this is just one of those stories, lip service?
Okay, good question. Is there a timeline for self-correction?
Self-correction is a function of what the ANC does. And as I said earlier, that the December conference is a very important milestone for self-correcting. If the ANC fails to self-correct in that December conference, it is likely to decline further. So the first timeline for the beginning of self-correction is the December conference.
Taryn, very quickly, your question.
Hi, CBS. Hi, Mr. Mantashe.
Hello.
Hi. I grew up and I just went to high school post-94. The ANC is always known as millennials in my generation, and thanks to my family. Today we're sitting confused and clueless about what to do. Can you give us 3 good reasons why the millennial youth should actually vote for the ANC anymore and in the next election?
Regardless of who wins in December.
Regardless, I'm talking about the ANC. Why should I vote for you guys after everything that we are prone to?
Brilliant. Taryn gets the final question. 3 top reasons to vote ANC, even if Nkosazana becomes president.
The first one is that the distance we've traveled is wonderful. I'm quoting that from the Bible now. The distance we've traveled is wonderful. There's a lot of change that has happened in the country. The country is better. The country is in a better shape. And even with the mistakes that have been committed, it doesn't change that we've traveled a long distance. All we need, as I put December as a self-correction, is that in every movement there will be troughs and rise. And if we're in a trough now, we must take ourselves to a rise so that we're improved. And the ANC is good for the country. That's why you should vote for the ANC.
Final question. Hindsight doesn't really, doesn't do much to us because you can't always predict the future, Gwede. But nevertheless, do you regret the presidency of JZ?
Let me tell you what I always tell ANC members is that, when you are tired and you are kicking out, you take it to kick out somebody. The reality of the matter is that when you take that decision, you can put anybody there. And we had that situation in 2007. I think we have the similar situation this time around. We're likely to commit another mistake in selecting leadership, because if the preoccupation is removal of Jacob Zuma, the mind doesn't get applied sufficiently on how best you put a good collective. And I think in 2007 we were locked to a situation of remove Thabo Mbeki and therefore put a collective without applying our minds properly. But we have got President Jacob Zuma. I can tell you, I'm Secretary General for the last 10 years. The first term of Jacob Zuma, he did well. In the first time, he did well. Restructured education, results are there for everybody to read. Looked into the health system. You can look into, I can give you a list of things. He has done exceptionally well. It is this second term that is not a good term.
Thank you for coming in.
In the last 24 hours, what's happened in your world?
Police Minister Fikile Mbalula